Ben.
This is Jeremy.
You're listening to Small Town Stoics. And we are now recording out of Best Quote Insurance, located on 120 Radio Road in Durant, Oklahoma. Let Nathan and Sally take care of all your home, auto, commercial, and life insurance needs. Give them a call today at 580-920-2226. So now that we're doing ads, I'm going to start memorizing and learning them a little bit better. No way I don't have to read them off my phone every time.
Probably ought to alert them too. It's like, well, this is who you're getting into.
Yeah. Well, supposedly he's already listened to the show a few times, and so
Not too bad.
yeah, hopefully he knows the problems. So well, it's been a few years.
Yeah.
I think I look back and it's been almost 2 years to the month.
Yeah, I think the last one was in September of 21.
Yep. Yeah, had to take a little break there with new jobs and all the different stuff going on in the world.
It's been a crazy 2-year span. I know, for me anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, new house, old house. I'm homeless right now. So see me on the street, throw me a quarter.
Yeah.
I'm actually just building a new place, and so.
Yeah, I saw the shingles went up.
Yeah, I got shingles now, which is nice. So outside's almost done. So all it lacks is brick and the finishing there. But yeah, it hasn't been really that long, but it feels like it.
Yeah.
It's like you just want to go to bed one day and wake up and it's done.
Yeah. I
But,
understand that.
It's especially since we're living in an RV. RV life sounds great, and I guess it would be if the trailer moved.
Yeah.
If I woke up and on a different lake or something every day, it would be great. But I'm waking up in a front yard in Oklahoma, so it gets kind of weary, But it took some getting used to. But I think at the end of it, when it's all said and done, the appreciation for the new place is going to be I'm really going to not be indifferent. I'm going to appreciate this place.
Yeah.
This is how bad it can be.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing.
Switching from that, this is a house to this is a home mindset.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Think about it. So, I'm sure everybody knows this, but in an RV, the bathroom is on one side and the master bedroom is on the other. Well, anytime you get up in the night to, go take a leak or whatever, it shakes.
Yeah.
It moves. And so, your whole house moves. So anytime you roll over, it's just it took the longest to get used to that.
Yeah.
So, luckily, my folks have been pretty accommodating, and the children have been able to stay in their place, and we'll stay out in the camper, so everybody kind of has a room, because 4 of us in a 29-foot trailer would be, I think there would be a war breakout, before too long, so I think that this was the best possible move that we could make, so. But anyway, it's coming along. I'm ready to get it over with, but. And then you mentioned the job change, and that's been a bit of a trip.
Yeah.
Kind of out of nowhere, and just decided to roll the dice and take a chance, and I left my job of 16 years, and went after a new endeavor, and it turned out to be really great. So
yeah,
travel a lot, meet a lot of new people, a lot of people that I never thought I would have to work with.
Yeah.
I'm actually working with. So yeah, it's pretty wild, but it's enjoyable. So what's been up in y'all's world?
I'm on my second job since last time we podcasted. I still work full time for the Guard, but I'm the readiest NCO of a different unit now. I finally got promoted, been moved around a few times, just kind of filling voids and stuff. 3 years out from retirement.
Well,
and then
sure that's dragging.
Oh man, it seems like it's forever. It'll be here tomorrow probably.
Well, when you get those goals, and it's there's the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're still young. To retire at that age would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I'll be almost 44 and be fully retired.
See, can't complain about that. Not in the least.
No, and then wife and kid chugging along doing the same old.
You got the boy a job, I see.
Yeah. He worked at the local grocery store all summer, and he actually really liked it. I kind of thought he's got my ADD with repetitive tasks, like where he gets bored real quick, and so I thought he wouldn't last long doing the same thing every day. But I guess they don't use them because it's a local place. You do everything. You're not just a cashier, just a stocker.
Right.
And so he liked that he got to do every job in the building and enjoyed working there. So he's already said he's going to go back whenever sports are over this fall. So
That's good.
So he'll finish cross country season and then go back next one. I think he learned he likes money.
Well,
so,
I mean, kind of gratifying that first paycheck comes rolling through.
Oh yeah.
I remember back in the day, I worked at a pizza place, Camazio's, you did too. It's making, I don't know, like, minimum wage at that time was like $5.25, I think.
Yeah.
I was making like $5.30. And to get a paycheck, I remember it was like $140. And I thought, man, that's like Bill Gates money right there. And
well, back when we were making it, it was $10 to fill up your car, and
$5 in gas goes a long ways, and
so to a couple 16-year-olds, it was Bill Gates money.
Yeah, that's true. Nowadays, I guess.
Nowadays, I couldn't fill my car up on a Mazio's paycheck from back then.
No, not even close. You'd have to take out a small loan.
Shit, you do now with what minimum wage is now.
Wow.
So
Yeah, no joke. And it's $2 difference in 20 years.
Yeah.
But, so is his a minimum wage job or?
No, he was making more than minimum wage.
Not to delve in.
Yeah.
But,
no, he was making. I mean, he wasn't making bank, but he was making more than minimum wage.
well, for a high school job.
Yeah.
Anything over minimum wage is, ideal.
Yeah. For a summer job, he was doing well for a 16-year-old.
Yeah, it works.
And so
You can't complain. Keeps fuel in the car and teaches maybe a little bit of responsibility.
Yeah. He started his own business now, kind of.
Fun.
We bought a freeze dry machine, and he's making freeze dried candy and sell it. So we made our first batches of Skittles and sour Skittles last night. And so he's got some with him this morning on his way to his cross country meet. So we're trying to sell him as post workout recovery snacks. And so we'll see how he does.
I need to go Google it and figure out what all you can freeze dry and kind of corner that market.
You can freeze dry everything. Like
Yeah.
we were doing videos because the wife wants to do like fruits and veggies and healthier snack foods and stuff. Discovered you can freeze dry bacon. And so
you think it'll turn to dust?
Yeah.
We've had those freeze dried Jolly Ranchers, and it's just like looks like a cotton ball, and you bite it, and it's just like a cotton ball,
Yeah.
and then it explodes. It's just sand. But yeah,
I know the sour Skittles are delicious.
well, we had those as well. And whoever would have thought of it? Like, who's looking at their freeze dryers? Like, we'll get a bag of king size Skittles and let's dump this in there and see what happens.
Well, I've seen videos people like freeze drying Red Bull. It makes like a
Is it like a fruit roll up at that point?
kinda like a fruit roll up or like a Jolly Rancher type.
7,000 milligrams of caffeine paste. Put it under your tongue. You're good for 6 months.
You say it that way, it sounds delicious.
Well, the new setup looks great.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with that. That's awesome.
Yeah, looks like we know what we're doing this time around.
Well,
So
a little bit of professionalism goes a long way, I guess.
I definitely did the research and bought a machine that does 90% of the editing for me.
Right.
And it is also plug and play this time.
All right. Didn't have to download any
Did
drivers.
not have to worry about drivers or
Using-
settings.
Using the computer speakers for 6 months until.
Yep, it just plugs in and goes. So I learned from my mistakes.
Well,
I may be a Neanderthal, but I adapt.
yeah, live and learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I'm so out of practice on this. I feel like I don't even know. I feel lost.
Yeah.
Because I even listen to, back in the day I would listen to podcasts and stuff all the time. I don't even have time for it anymore. I'm just like, well, here we go. Another day. Because it's either baseball practice or Boy Scouts or work or, whatever else comes down the lane.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
I get them in just because I got to drive to Ardmore a couple times a week.
Right.
So that's what I listen to on the way back there and back.
Well, see, I never think about it. I've gotten to where when I travel now, if I'm in the car by myself, like if there's no radio, there's no nothing. Like I just have it silent so I can focus and think about where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing the next hour or two, wherever I'm going to be. And it's I don't know why I've started doing that because somebody loves music as much as I do. You'd think, but in all fairness, I mean. I guess when I had Sirius Radio in it, it was different, but don't have Sirius Radio anymore. But
yeah, I can't drive in a silent car.
I didn't think I could, but after a while, I didn't even notice that I was doing it. Because I had so much on my mind. Because you go work with these people, and you're like, okay, so this is what I need to do here. This is what we need to talk about, things like that, and I just became so consumed with what I was doing that it was just like it was like shutting out the world, But usually got somebody with me. Those days of lone travel are over. But and my choice of music is not conducive to most folks.
Yeah, it's not the standard.
So they have a bit of an issue with that. You can't just break out a Slayer record in front of everybody. So. Gotta know your audience.
Yeah.
And of course with the podcast and stuff, it's kind of the same thing. It's not everybody's cup of tea. So I just let it be. And it's it's easier that way. It keeps the peace. But yeah, I need to reset. Now that I've kind of got a routine built and I know where I'm going to be, I know what I'm going to be doing. The new is starting to wear off.
Yeah.
I need to, sit back and relax and start over. So
yeah.
Maybe within the next year or two I can do that. I think once this house madness is over with, then we can relax and turn it off. Because have you ever had a 40-minute discussion about a toilet?
Fortunately, no.
Yeah. I was like, well, what size toilet do you want? How big do you want the bowl to be? How much do you want it to flush? What color do you want the handle? Where do you want the handle? Do you want the slow close lid? I've never given any of this any thought.
Nope.
So, that's kind of where you come from on that. You have to really, really focus on those things. And I've never looked at so many bricks in my whole life. Like oh.
Whenever we've discussed buying a piece of land and building, my stance has always been, she can do whatever she wants. I want a door on the shitter. I want a little bit of property. Other than that, I really don't care what the house looks like or what it's like.
That's kind of the approach I took. I said,
I don't want gold.
Yeah,
gold fixtures.
you got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want the gaudy Donald Trump apartment, but
yeah.
I kind of took the same approach. Look at it, it's like, okay, you've already got an idea of what you want. And the way I look at it is like, the kitchen faucet is not going to be a structural issue. So I said, as long as you let me inspect it and be, everything is structurally good, do whatever you want, I don't care.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way it's been, and it's worked. I've done some input on a few things here and there, and you kind of have to. You can't just stay totally neutral on the whole thing. But for the most part, she already knew what she wanted before we even started.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel like my life would be.
So, I mean, in my mind, she's already had the house like 3/4 built before we ever turned any dirt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a plus. Because I couldn't imagine going into this thing not knowing anything. So, but yeah, I'm just ready for that all to slow down and get into the place, but it's, if I'm in there by Christmas, I'll be shocked. That's where I'm at.
Still holding on to that it's going to take forever.
Well, the outside takes no time. It's the inside that's going to eat up all your time.
Mm.
But yeah, well, haven't had any supply chain issues, so that's kind of thinned things down. But just I'm never gonna be optimistic until you start seeing movement on certain things.
Yeah.
It feels like nothing's happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I guess it's a test of patience, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's too early in the morning for these things too. Like, I've just been awake about 40 minutes.
Yeah. This morning or this afternoon, we've got to go to Dallas and do a bunch of shopping. So I had to do a little early sneaking in today, but
Fun.
hopefully we can do it a little bit later in the day.
We've
going forward.
got baseball fundraiser. I don't remember what else to do. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, we were going to do it last weekend, and I got sick last week,
Right.
and so that kind of knocked it off being able to go do. But
Well, I mean, I'm glad kind of back doing it. I know this one's probably going to be a little shaky, but
yeah, it's going to take a little bit to get sea legs back underneath us.
Go kick the rust off.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the ideas for topics that you've got in mind?
I went back and listened to a lot of our old ones, or the ones that are posted still, and I think we were on the right track with our old stuff.
Right.
Just day-to-day life of the average, actual American male, sports, family,
Yeah.
philosophy on things, views on politics. I think we were doing the right stuff. I think this time around, obviously with our jobs, we're not going to be able to do the weekly episodes like we were.
Right.
Maybe once or twice a month. I'd like to bring on more guests and actually do.
Yeah, I enjoyed those.
Yeah.
Well, you get the perspective that you're not familiar with. We know each other and we know where we stand, but you bring in that third party. It's always quite interesting.
Well, you can, because we're a couple of, I feel like we're pretty versed on a lot of topics, but we're not by no means experts
Right.
on a lot of things. And so when you start bringing in guests, you can bring in someone who is, their job is that field. And you can have a conversation about it with somebody, really knows the data and has experience in that field.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but I'd like to do that. So maybe something like twice a month, once with us just bullshitting, and once with somebody to interview and stuff. I've got some people that have already said they're interested in coming on. That I think would be fun guests to have.
Yeah.
And so,
it's kind of along for the ride. I think, we've kind of been sharing topics back and forth, and I think every one of them is very doable.
mm,
And then also the guest list would be, obviously you're not going to find a guest for every topic.
Yeah.
But, going back and thinking on some of the ones we did in the past, like the sports ones were always fun, because that was where you got your most heated debates, really, and then the one where we opened up the basketball cards was pretty cool. But, I like to see some more stuff like that, the lighter topics every now and then, because, we got pretty heavy on some things.
yeah.
Fill it in with some light stuff every now and then. The fictional athletes, like the top 10 lists.
Good.
Oh, it was so good.
So that's so the ones that we do, it's kind of what I was thinking is we can do top 5 lists of this, or like college football season's coming up, so we can talk about. So I was thinking the ones we do bullshit about stuff we bullshit about anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
And then save those political, philosophical debates and discussions when we bring in a guest or two to have those conversations with.
Right. Well, that's how you're gonna do it. I think that's a good way to kind of fine tune it. Because if you have those same philosophical and political conversations just between you and I, it's gonna be like the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
Topic change, but where each person stands.
Yeah.
And kind of where that's gonna go. So you always need that third party in those. I guess you could call it controversial
Yeah.
topics.
Yeah, the goal would be eventually to be able to have a setup where we can bring in and have like the trust of the people doing it to bring in two people with opposing viewpoints.
Yeah,
But the problem you run into that, especially in the area of country we live, is yeah, two people can have opposing viewpoints, but they tend to be like vehemently the other sides are idiots and I'm not discussing things with them. You know, like it's hard to find people that can have a discussion without it rolling into name calling or a fist fight.
that's the problem, you know. And that's the problem with a lot of things today is we don't have a common ground, and we don't even search for that common ground. You're right. You know, part B, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you. You don't know what you're saying. And you know what? And the divide can be something as simple as a Bud Light commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Something as simple as a commercial for crappy beer. And I'm like, this is what we're fighting over. You know,
Yeah.
you constantly see it in the news. Something is just runs with it. Like the country music song, I think has been the latest great divide.
Did you see the record that song set?
I did not.
Furthest drop from number one all time.
Well,
It went from like 1 to like 27 in a week.
I mean, I've full disclosure, I have never heard the song. I haven't even heard it. I haven't even gotten curious and been like, let's just fire this thing up. I cannot make myself. I hate country music. That's all I need.
And this is bad country music.
Well, that's it. You know,
It's pop. Country music.
Let me back up. I hate modern country music.
Yeah.
Like what people the Jason Aldeans of the world, I suppose, and I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this, but I just don't see the craze with Blake Shelton. I look at it and I'm like, okay, he's got crappy tattoos, that's great.
I like about half his songs.
Well, see, I don't even, of course, you know, if you know me, I'm so ingrained into the genre of music that I love that I don't give anything else really a chance. Like, granted, that old stuff, like even with like hip hop, you know, I love the old school hip hop. You know, but I don't know. You kind of this is where I see myself getting older. I get more and more set in my ways. But
yeah.
Anyway, you know, going back to the song. There's far more controversial lyrics out there.
Oh yeah, by far.
But I think at this point and where we are, people are looking for reasons to get upset. If that makes any sense. Like let's find something.
Yeah.
You know, either one side or the other. It doesn't matter. Let's find something. It's like a wag the dog situation. We're arguing over this stuff, and then meanwhile, everything else is like taking a back seat, and there's bigger issues out there. And sometimes I feel like, you know, maybe that is. It's just a smoke screen. But then again, I don't know. I mean,
I listened to the song because I was curious, so I listened to it. It's a horrible song. It's written by 8 people, and it has like the same verse just over and over again with like a couple different words. And then a buddy of mine was like, "Well, you got to watch the video," and I didn't understand why it was so like protested against.
Right.
Like, yeah, there's some stuff in there that like where he's obviously saying like, "Hey, you can't come riot here in a small town," and stuff like that. But like, there's no like lynch them or hang them or like anything violent in it. It's just you can't do that. And what's funny is a lot of the stuff he lists you can't do in a small town like happens all the fucking time in small towns. Like don't hit your wife in a small town. That shit happens all the time.
oh, small towns is like the mecca.
Yes. And
Don't cook meth in a small town. Really?
Exactly. And so then a buddy was like, "We have to watch the video. The video has a bunch of images that are real, and it's like him in front of some courthouses with like flag flying in the background and like videos of people rioting or protesting or whatever, but nothing like horrible.
Right.
It's just, but the song is just so bad.
Well, then, you know, maybe it was a good thing for that to go through cancel culture, you know? Let's just relieve ourselves of this terrible music, you know?
So I've become a big fan of conspiracy theories, even more so than originally. And just because of how many have kind of started looking like they're true versus now like crazy people conspiracy theories. And my conspiracy theory on this Aldean song is he protested his own song. Like, he put a song out that he knew he could kinda,
Bad press is press.
yeah, kind of get away with, and on one side, and kind of cause an uproar on the other side, but not super like violent or anything like that, where it would just be overtly. And then some people went out there and protested on one chat board, and it caused the spike in sales, because obviously the song's not very good, because even the people that like supported the songs have stopped listening to it because it dropped all the way down to 27 in a week.
Well,
But he made a shit ton of money off of it in that 2 week span.
it reminds me of going back to the satanic panic in the late 80s, early 90s.
With like Dungeons and Dragons.
Well,
and
that, and then you figure in like the Tipper Gore raging against the music, you know, and putting the parental advisory stickers on there. At the end of the day, that was the best thing that could have happened.
it just made me want the record more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you had the people that were buying the albums and burning them. They still bought them, and that money still went to the artist. So, what was the bad in that? And then you look at it and you see, oh my God, there's a pile of these albums burning. I have to check this out. I have to see what this is all about.
Yep.
You know, I guess this is kind of the same effect, maybe in reverse, or maybe a blip in his face, but I get it. I mean, that does make sense. You know, negative publicity is publicity, and if it works in your favor, that it can, you know, because who in their right mind would ever have thought that you and I would sit down and even mention that name? You know, Jason Aldean. Like, I didn't know who the guy was until this happened.
He is a sequin jean wearing kind
Yeah,
of.
he is totally, that's it. He wears bedazzled pants and...
all hat, no, like in the video, he's wearing like a leather cowboy hat. Like, there's only certain groups of people I've ever seen own a leather cowboy hat, and none of them have ever been cowboys.
There's a comic out there, and to steal some of his materials. His name's Trey Crowder, and he talks about it. And he goes, you know, you try that in a small town. And he's talking about red lights, you know, robbing them. And he goes, red lights? He's like, we don't have no dang red lights. He said, we tried it in the 80s, but people kept going around and shooting them out.
Yep.
And then he said, this guy's from Macon, Georgia. He said, they have a Target, for Christ's sakes.
Can't be a small town, you got a Target.
Yeah, a small town with a Target. So, yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. If he did it as a publicity stunt, it kind of backfired. But then again, well, people are talking about it.
But it's the same. So, like, it's almost like he didn't create it, but I feel like he kind of mastered it. It's like the Trump stuff. Like,
accidentally on purpose?
Well, not even accidentally on purpose, but like Trump like figured out that like the madder I can make the other side, the more my base loved it. And that's kind of like this song. He made one side really mad, and his side was even like, well, this song sucks, but fuck those guys. So we're gonna listen to it all the time and support it on the radio and make it a #1 hit.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's almost like he's playing to his base by pissing off the other groups.
Well, you know, and that's not a new tactic.
No.
You know, go to another instance I can remember of this in popular culture is when Brian Bosworth got drafted by the Seattle Seahawks, and you know how the Boz was. I don't know. Did you ever watch the Boz documentary on the ESPN?
No, I never seen it.
You need to watch that. It's phenomenal. Anyway, they talk about this, and he's like, the Seahawks were playing the Broncos, and you know, Bosworth goes on there, and I can't remember who he was talking about. It might have been John Elway. Anyway, you know the reverence of John Elway in Denver, Colorado. Like, there's no guy, you know, that guy is, you know, he could get elected governor of Colorado at any time if he wanted, right? Anyway, the boss said something. I can't remember what all that was about, but then these T-shirts started popping up, like, you know, anti-Brown Bosworth T-shirts. Well, the boss was the one making and selling those T-shirts, you know? It's a brilliant business move, and it's in the same vein that you're talking about here. It's like, you're exactly right. I mean, if we can upset these group of people, and they're going to spend their money, I'm going to capitalize on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if it makes me look bad, I still look good to the people who like me, and I'm taking advantage of you at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so as a business move, it's very smart, you know. But, you know, it's got to be hard, though, to be hated in places. But, I mean, I guess you don't have to interact with anybody when you're there or even have to go back there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that whole thing, just looking for something to get upset about, you know, it's like, all right, yeah. And then you don't get upset about the things you really should get upset about. So that's kind of where we are, and it's been that way for a good 5 years now, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. You know, you got one. Well, we're the anti-cancel culture, but we're canceling people. You know, like stop, just stop.
Or I own a coffee cup. I don't own a coffee cup, but a guy owns a coffee cup that says liberal tears in it.
Yeah.
But then, like, we're protesting Bud Light and throwing fits about country songs.
Right. And then, you know, the same people that are like, you can't cancel Jason Aldean, tried to cancel the Dixie Chicks. And the Dixie Chicks
are trying to cancel Garth Brooks because he still sells Bud Light in his bars in Vegas.
Oh wow.
Like, can you imagine being a country fan that's like, fuck Garth Brooks, we don't listen to him anymore.
You know, this is totally off
because he likes the beer.
Totally off subject, but you brought this up. You said the name, so I gotta go with it. We went on a vacation, so we went on a cruise like last week or the week before or something like that. Anyway, and they had this trivia competitions, and when you're at sea, they always have, you know, different trivias. One of the trivias was one-hit wonders, and so they would play the song, and you would name the artist and the song. And we got down to like number 8. And Friends in Low Places comes across, and I'm like, like I'm not even a country music fan, but this dude is not a one-hit wonder. Like, you're getting, like,
it's a little disrespectful.
Is this the only song you've ever heard? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Now, granted, all the people on the cruise ship are from like Brazil, or Jamaica or Zimbabwe, or, you know, just like these way far. So I guess in their mind, and maybe I'm not sure that Garth Brooks has a big following in Rio de Janeiro or whatever, but they played that, and I was like, yeah, that's far from one hit wonder if you ask me.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Anybody with a greatest hits album, probably not a one hit wonder. You know, you can go that way. You know, because if you're a one hit wonder, your greatest hits album would be a single.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you mentioned that, and I just immediately came to my mind, and I'm like,
Yeah, and considering that guy's like the all-time concert sales in country music or something like that.
He could
like,
sell out a stadium anywhere with electricity. I mean, that's the thing.
Well, and I can remember in the 90s, like, his concerts were televised.
Yeah.
Like, I remember sitting in the house watching Garth Brooks concerts on TV.
Yeah. And then the VHS tapes came too, so you could also get that.
So yeah, that's the disrespect there.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm not a fan, but even I'm like, hey, you know, maybe we ought to rethink that one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
See, that's the difference in our music taste. Is like, you were really early on in life into the classic rock and the classic metal and stuff. Like, I didn't get introduced to that stuff till like junior year, sophomore year, and so I had a bunch of, you know, I grew up on country music.
Did you have one of the black and white striped shirts from the album?
No.
Did you have one of the red and blue ones like looks like a chessboard?
I have never been a dress like my favorite artist kind of guy. I don't even own. I've got a couple of concert T-shirts that I bought. I don't wear them. I hang in my closet.
Right.
Like, I don't even own or wear band shirts.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I remember when those records came out.
Yeah.
You could get those shirts at any of your local Western wear store.
But that was because '90s fashion was just so horrible.
Well, that too.
Like, I've looked back at some pictures and just been like, what? And I was a jeans and T-shirt kid for the most part, and still look back and be like, what in the shit was I thinking?
Oh yeah.
So, like, we've been talking prom with Landon since he's going to be a junior, or is a junior, and I've already told him, like, we'll go suit shopping and we'll buy you like a classic style suit for prom. Like, do not wear a faddish one that in 10 years you're going to look back at and been like, what this shit was I doing wearing a knee-length jacket with a top button, which is what I wore junior year. So I wore one of those Japanese Asian style
Yeah,
jackets,
look like a
with
knee.
knee length, buttoned all the way up to the top.
Get you.
Didn't have a bow tie, had the little jewel button.
Give him one of those long tail, look like the Monopoly man.
Oh man.
That'd be ideal.
Listen,
And monocle.
I will be excited if I can get my kid in pants for the prom, because we are athletic shorts and t-shirts only family.
Well, I mean,
And so
if it works, it works.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
we may wear athletic wind pants and a printed on t-shirt with a tux printed on it.
Well, that's the boat we're in with both of ours. The oldest one, he kind of has to, you know, for what the FFA and all that, but the other one, no. Like putting on pants and not even really a button-up shirt, like a polo, is getting fancy. Just fancy.
Yes. Polos are reserved for picture day in our house.
Yeah, well, we didn't even do that. Logan,
Oh, really?
The last time Logan took pictures, for school pictures even, I took some flack over this. It was a Slipknot t-shirt, black track pants, or whatever you want to call them, sweat pants. Did not brush his hair. He looked like, of course, you know, this was, I don't know, it was last year or so, and he just, I was like, that's fine, that's what he looks like. And I forgot it was picture day too, so he rolls into the picture, and of course we didn't buy it, you know, it was the spring one. No one ever buys the spring one anyway. And kept getting these alerts and these text messages, emails, you know, hey, this is going to expire in X amount of days. And we never even looked at it, so Amanda looks at it and she goes, oh my God.
That's the one you got to get so you have it for his senior year to put up.
Well, I'm regretting it. I wish we would have. I got a screenshot of it, so I'll keep that forever. You know, the nasty mullet.
But and this isn't a knock on your boys, because I love your boys, but that's exactly what I think Logan would look like on picture day. Like if I was gonna, like, either that or a Rangers jersey.
Yeah,
one of the two.
That's
like
literally that's about it.
Messed up mullet, Rangers jersey, or some kind of metal shirt that he's stolen out of your closet.
Yeah.
And here, take my picture. I gotta go play catch.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And so that's exactly what I expect out of Logan.
Well, I mean, that's his everyday get up, you know. When he leaves the house, that's how it is. But yeah, I took a little flack over that one.
I can imagine.
But well, you know, it ain't as bad as the one that I think it was Denver. The shirt was inside out or something in the school picture, and it was like the one that goes in the yearbook.
Oh yeah.
I should have caught that one.
Landon hasn't had too many bad pictures. We got to his head early on that we don't ask him to dress up very often. And so picture day is a requirement. We don't get we don't even push back from it. And so he's pretty decent about picture day, putting on some decent clothes and going like that. But the rest of the time we're talking Under Armour shorts, a t-shirt, and running shoes.
Well, our problem is I forget picture day.
Yeah.
And because you know the way our schedules line up, you know, picture day always falls on a day that Amanda works. So it's like it's left to me, which is probably the worst case scenario if you really want to get down to it.
Yeah.
And so
no, because I remember our picture days in high school. So.
Well, what I would do is I was like, you know, I get them up. You're old enough now. You can dress yourself. I wake them up and I go back to bed. I'm done. You know, because the bus shows up and I still got like, you know, you always got to squeeze in that extra 30 minutes of sleep.
Yep.
Is, you know, the most important sleep you're ever going to get. So I'm not going to be depraved of that. And so I just wake them up and like, all right, man, later, brush your teeth, I'll see you.
Yep.
It never fails, it's picture day, and away we go, so we get those. But, yeah, at least Denver gets now where he remembers. The other one, I don't think he even cares, and that's fine. You know, I'm all about that too. But, yeah, that's one of those dad mistakes, I guess. So, you know, I'm just glad I don't have little girls. Like,
oh yeah,
I would get eaten alive because I wouldn't know what to do. Like, oh, you put it in pigtails or whatever. I'm like, yeah, you're on your own. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Well, considering my family only raises Amazonian women, like, I'd have 5'10" little girl carrying a club around Like, it's always seemed to,
Right.
it's always seemed to raise in our family. She'd be in a sundress, but like with a softball bat in her hand,
And
hitting people.
It's some dead creature.
Yes. Yeah, carrying frogs in her pockets.
Right.
So we would attempt to have the pretty princess, and it failed miserably.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, it's not for everybody.
no, I don't think I'd either be the greatest girl dad on the planet or the worst. I don't think there'd be any middle ground for me with a little girl.
Well, it depends on your definition. If you let the kid be the kid, and the child decides I'm going to be a dirty faced, no hair combing, club dragger, great. Knock yourself out. This is the perspective, I guess. But
Yeah.
I think great on a mentoring, parenting level, not so great on a personal grooming style level, I
Well,
guess.
I mean,
And that's where I'd be.
we're a fairly clean family, so I'm not worried about like.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I like it came down to like, well, you need to, put her hair up in a ponytail. Like, I don't know what to do.
I could do a sports pony. Like I could do here is your scruffy, hot pone, go on down the road.
I said, I don't know that I could do that. I've never had to do it.
That's just easy. You just grab it, put it up right here, call it a day.
Kind of look like, what was that, Goro from Mortal Kombat? just slick it back.
You're gonna get a pixie cut because I can't fix your hair. So
Yeah, we're gonna do something about this.
you're just gonna be a short-haired girl.
You'll get used to it.
Yeah. She'd have a mullet like Logan's.
Well, it's more manageable that way, and so on and so forth.
Surprised he doesn't put his in a ponytail sometimes.
We have to keep it trimmed. I know he's gonna get it hung up in something, so it's like, man, we keep it trimmed up.
Yeah.
He has before, but he's too busy. That's his problem. Because he had always wears a baseball cap, he's out on the field and stuff like that. So, speaking of, he got his first dinger the other night.
Did he?
It was in practice, in all fairness. And he'd been kind of, not to change the subject, but it just made me think of it. He'd been kind of in a slump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could not. He strikeout after strikeout after strikeout. And our new coach was like, come down here Thursday and let's work on some things. And so he goes down there, and of course it's all in his head.
Yeah.
The kid can rake if he wants to. And just a few little small adjustments. Well, then they start playing knockout, which there's like 3 or 4 of them there. And knockout is basically the coach will say, okay, fair balls only. If you hit a foul, you're out. And so the next 2 guys compete, and so on and so forth. Well, infield, single, just basically getting them try to pull the ball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, they got toward the end, and there were the 3 were still playing. He goes, okay, furthest ball hit wins. We got to end it because it's too hot. First kid hits one. Good ways mid-center, rolls to the fence, pretty decent.
Yeah.
Second one, about the same. Logan comes up, and it was a no-doubter. I'm talking, this field's 225, and it landed probably 230, 240. It's like, yes. And it was, when there was one of the dads was out there shagging balls for him, and when he stopped, I was like, this thing's going to get out. And it came out, I was like, oh, wow. So.
Was it a moonshot or was it a laser?
No, it was a moonshot. It was an arch. It was high. It was probably 4.5, 5 feet above the fence. It wasn't like no cheap, clear the fence by an inch or 2 or hit the fence and roll over it. This was gone. So, that right there is a huge confidence boost. But,
Oh yeah.
He's going through it. But yeah, that's what I told him on the way home. I said, you always hear that baseball's a game of inches. It's like, you didn't make much of an adjustment. You just turned your foot a little differently and you bent your knee differently. And look how much difference that it made. Of course, a lot of it, like I said, was mental, but it finally got him out of his head that he could do it.
It's a different sport, but baseball slumps and guys trying to get out of baseball slumps, it always reminds me of that scene from Tin Cup where he's shanking everything, and old Cheech starts telling him to like put all his change in his left pocket, turn his hat sideways. Like he's not changing his swing at all. He's just making him look like an idiot. So he's not thinking about his swing, and then he ropes one. And so baseball slumps always make me think of that scene because like you don't really need to. It's like, have you ever seen that Pete Rose interview where he's talking about slumps? And he's just talking about all you do is you go up the bat, down the bat, and then you don't change anything else. And so
well, there was that one, and another good quote was like, I think it was Chipper Jones. And they said, you know, baseball is probably the most cruel game out there. He said, you can go out one week, you know, 10 for 10, 20 RBIs, you know, or whatever, and just the next week you can't touch the ball. You know, you're 0 for 40, you've struck out 38 times. You know, so that's just one of those.
You're Joey Gallo.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, how's that guy still playing ball? Don't get me wrong, I love him for being a Ranger, but good night.
I saw a stat the other day that he is. I want to say he's had 242 plate appearances.
140 strikeouts.
And 121. Like he was an even split.
Yeah.
Either he strikes out or he gets a hit. There's no
he's one of those
separate.
He's one of those guys, and I don't know if it's still true or not. I'm pretty sure he's got more home runs than he does singles. Like, wow, are you serious? And I think he's only got like 5 doubles.
And what's crazy is I really thought he was like the poster child for getting rid of the shift, helping. You know what I mean? Like I thought he was going to be the guy that like, okay, they got rid of the shift. This will help.
His batting average is going to come up 15 points.
No. He hits like 121.
And he's in a hitter-friendly park,
or 170 or something like that.
He's like
And so
he's below 200.
Oh yeah, no, easily.
So yeah, I figure his time in the majors is done. But
he's like, was it Chris Davis? It was like that before him. Wasn't he another former Ranger as well?
Oh yeah, but he had like 45 home runs one season, and then Baltimore swooped in there and snatched him up, and they're still paying him today.
Yes, still paying him a lot.
And the dude was terrible. I mean, granted, he had a flash of greatness, but
I feel like the majors do this to themselves with the whole like emphasis on launch angle and hitting home runs and not caring about strike. Like it breeds a mentality, and then you get a guy with that mentality, you're like, oh, he's horrible.
Well, and here's the thing too. You're right. They overanalyze the statistics, and even and then everybody hears these things. It's like, well, what's his WAR? Wins above replacement. Like, how can you judge that? Like, to me, that's just.
It is a weird stat.
Your analytics people are okay. They're crazy. They love their number. They're just mathematicians with like, let's figure out how we can put a value to this. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get just burned for this because there's a lot of stat heads out there. But for me in baseball, I don't care what your launch angle was. I don't care what your exit velocity was. None of that matters to me. I look at what's your batting average, your RBI, your home runs, your singles, your strikeouts, your doubles. Plausible stats. Baseball was a game long before we had StatCast. Now, granted, I mean, they claim that the Moneyball thing, oh, well, we got the guy that's got a walk probability and all this. Okay, that's great and all. But to me, I don't know. I mean, you're never going to replace the good player. Like, you're going to look at it like, okay, Albert Pujols is always going to be Albert, was going to be Albert Pujols. Like, I don't care what the stats are. Like,
I feel like Moneyball, and we're referring to the Oakland A's back in 02?
Late 90s is kind of when it got kicked off, early 2000s.
Yeah, we're talking like the original, like go watch the Brad Pitt movie. I feel like those guys are about where they were at then is about where I'm at in the analytics.
But think about this. Those guys, the team that they put together, they all went somewhere else and signed huge contracts. It wasn't that they weren't, it was all based on statistics. He's got a walk ratio or.
And that's what I'm saying. Is I feel like they were the perfect mixture of old school baseball IQ and analytics. And then they did really, really well and everybody got analytics out of it and missed the old school baseball portion and ran with that analytics, and now you get stuff like launch angle and all these other bullshit stats.
Yeah.
You know, whereas they were like, hey, what's his batting average? What's his on base percentage? What's his walk to strikeout? You know, they were like simple, tangible stats, not a bunch of made up shit.
And the thing is, too, they make it like the statistics and putting all these guys together with those numbers is what made it great. There was the pitching staff was Mark Mulder, Barry Zito, and there was, I can't remember who the other one was. It doesn't matter. Barry Zito went on to the Giants and won, I don't know, like 2 Cy Youngs in a World Series.
Yeah.
You know, the dude was good. He just in sense got discovered. Miguel Tejada, same thing. He was on those teams. You know, now granted, you had your guys like Scott Hatteberg or something like that nobody really heard of, but in the end, like Johnny Damon and stuff like that, it's like got found during hours. Like I don't know if he was with I think he was more with the Royals, but anyway, besides the point, it's the same.
I think he got found like the year before. I know, and I'm referencing the movie, not real life. I know in the movie he had just been traded in the offseason to the Yankees, or he had signed with the Yankees, not the Yankees, Red Sox,
Boston,
and stuff. Like the year before the season in that movie.
So I'm confusing the players, but
so
you look at those because no one keeps up with the A's. Like, but anyway,
no, 90% of what I know of the A's is from Moneyball.
Well, they make it out like
they're in my division.
Well, they make it out like these dudes were no talent. You know, like, you know, if none of these guys had superstar potential, but they did.
Yeah.
They really did.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, and I know he was past his prime, but they had David Justice, who was a stud in the 90s.
Well, they had Dave Justice, and then Eric Chavez comes out of that, which is a really solid third baseman.
Yeah, and even the guy you mentioned, Hatteberg, like he was really good.
He had a long career
prior to that, because he got injured. That's why he couldn't be a catcher anymore.
Exactly.
Like he was a really good player in the 90s. I mean, he wasn't like an all-star Hall of Famer.
No, but I mean,
he was
a
solid bat, a solid catcher, and so.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They made it out like you're going to the island of misfit toys, and and coming back with gold.
They didn't bring in me to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, or but not just you, like 11 U's.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
They didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, they didn't spend much money because these guys were either considered washed up or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the developed talent that they had went elsewhere and was very successful. So anyway, it just irritates me to no end because we were coming home from practice one time and Logan goes, I wonder what my exit velo was on this hit. And I'm like, what the hell does that matter? You know what matters? I don't care if your exit velo was 5,000 miles per hour. Did you get on base?
Yeah.
That's where it matters.
Yeah. Did you make solid contact?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a numbers guy. I love but enough is enough.
Yeah.
Let's back it up and let's not.
I feel like I'm in the middle when it comes to baseball. Like there are numbers that I think are really important, and then there are times where I'm like, that dude's a baller. Like I don't need to know what his numbers is. I can watch him play.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that guy can play.
Well, let's think about this. Let's look at the Hall of Fame statistics. That if a guy hits 3,000 hits, likely Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
If a guy hits 500 home runs, likely Hall of Famer.
Career over 330 hitter.
Yeah, career 300 hitter these days.
Yeah, that's true.
Hall of Famer. It's not, his career WAR was like 8.2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, look at that. Like, what does that even mean? So, he's kind of carried away. I'm in the middle as well, but, I'm still of the old school of, hits, walks, runs matter. Yes. That's it.
Yeah.
But while we're on the subject of players that are ballers, have you seen this kid play in Cincinnati named Ellie De La Cruz?
I've seen like highlights and Sports Center clips and stuff.
Stupid the things he does on the field.
The only thing that concerns me about him is I remember about 4 years ago, Tatis was doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then and he's still a good player, but like there seems to have been a drop off.
Well, when you get busted for the steroids, that don't help
that's
too.
probably true.
You get 80-game suspension.
So I feel like anytime I see that highlight-ridden guy, it's a rookie or second-year player or something.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm always like, shit, is this guy going to be good in 2 years?
Well, the thing for me, I put that out of my mind, and I think about how funny he is right now. You know, like, it was a few weeks ago, De La Cruz gets on first, steals second, steals third, stole home.
Yeah.
Like, he turned a single and basically into a home run he stole home by like 3 pitches, you know? And then some of the balls that he's hit have been just incredibly long, you know? 450, 460, I think he hit one at 501.
Yeah.
It's just like, holy crap, and the dude runs like a deer. I mean, he's tall and lanky. He looks like he weighs about 130 pounds, looks like he's like 6'6". And, you know, he's just fun to watch, and you're right, you kind of hide and wait for to kind of fizzle. Because, you know, and one thing too, like even with Tatis before the steroid thing, once the pitcher figures you out, they kind of...
Yeah, can you make the adjustment?
Exactly. Yeah. You know, and, you know, are you going to go out, like with, well, I don't know, Cincinnati, that division's not real good. But I mean, you know, let's just say you've got these old school pitchers, a healthy Jake DeGrom. That dude figures you out, he's going to mow you down. You know, that's just it. And so you face him possibly 19 times a year or whatever, 20. You ain't going to get him every time.
Yeah.
You know, this guy's kind of like the new out of the box guy, kind of like Yasiel Puig was when he kind of came in.
Yeah.
Everybody knew how to handle that guy. And then all of a sudden, all you got to do is get in his head, and he's done. And that was in...
He's not even... Is he around anymore?
No, he's in Japan, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was his demise.
Yeah.
And what happened is they just figured him out.
Yeah, and he was the Tatis before Tatis.
Yeah, I mean, he was the first big thing to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So,
the backflip era.
Yeah.
I started with him.
Yeah, very cocky. But, you know, he was good for that flash in the pan. Then he bounced around all over the league. Then he just disappeared.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But it's fun to watch him at first because then you see, you know, incredible things. And, I notoriously get on the Facebook and read about the comments on the ESPN stuff. I was like, this guy, we have to see this guy every day. Every day. I'm like, well, he's doing things that are incredible every day. So that's why you have to see him. It's not like ESPN is selling him.
Right.
You know, they're not talking this guy up. Like, how many times, go back to the stolen bases, how many times do you see that? Especially from a guy his size. You don't.
Well, what's funny about those guys, and because I love to make fun of the ESPN comment guys, is that's the same guy that will tell you LeBron's greatest player of all time. And then I saw a post the other day, and I couldn't tell. I looked, trying to figure out if it was like a sarcastic post or a satire or a parody or whatever. But it was a picture of Mike Tyson in his prime and LeBron James in boxing shorts and gloves and stuff like that. And basically the comment was, I don't know how well he do, but I put my money on LeBron because he's got that dog. He's just built different. And I was like, wait.
Have they never met Mike Tyson or read anything about this guy?
I was like, this is surely a joke. Like somebody is making fun of somebody. And I went through like the comments. I went to the website that posted the original picture, and I just could not figure out if it was like a joke post or somebody was legit being serious. That LeBron could take Tyson.
I don't think LeBron could take Tyson in Tyson's prime if LeBron had a bat. I really don't. If he had a baseball bat, I just do not think Tyson. You watch those old fights of Tyson. He was there to kill you. He didn't care. Like, I'm taking you out.
Yeah.
And these greatest of all time conversations get out of hand. You know, the LeBron versus Jordan thing and all that. And well, you know, LeBron's all time leading scorer. He also played 15 years longer than anybody else. You know, so let's just exaggerating on 15 years, but I know there's some kids out there that think that, you know, some of the stats that come out of it, like Jordan never played in Game 7 of the finals. I mean, wow. Never lost a finals. He was the finals MVP every time. So, you know.
My favorite one recently has been Jordan never won a finals without Pippen. And then they'll put LeBron on this side, but LeBron has won a finals without Wade, without Anthony Davis, without Kevin Love, without Kyrie Irving. I'm like, yeah, because he had the other motherfuckers.
Yeah,
he didn't have that guy.
Yeah, yeah. When he's the GM and the coach all at once, you can do whatever you want.
There's a reason every team he leaves sucks for like 2 years after.
And here's something that always gets lost in the whole, well, Jordan never won without Pippen. They drafted and traded for him.
Yeah.
You know, they drafted,
They didn't recruit.
they got him on draft day. They didn't go get him. Seattle drafted him, Chicago traded for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it happened. They chose him for Jordan.
Yeah. The only player you could say Jordan went out and got was Rodman.
Yeah.
And that was it. And he had to like, everyone else in the team was like, this is a horrible idea.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. He had to sell it.
Yeah, he had to like convince Phil Jackson and everybody. Pippen hated him for like the first year he was there. And so,
Yeah.
and that's the only guy you can say he went and got was Rodman.
Well, and you look at the role players around him. You know, Steve Kerr was not a superstar.
No.
Ron Harper, not a superstar. Bill Whittington and
Yeah.
Luke Longley. I mean, there were only two.
Sukoc was ish all-star for most of his career.
He's middle of the road guy for
Yeah.
me. He was good. I wouldn't put him in the role player portion. I'd put him, but he's not a guy you're going to build a team around.
No,
None of the
he's got a
guys
one
that
or
those two played with, minus Rodman, and you can't even build a team around Rodman if you want to get down to it. Rodman is the defense rebound guy. He's not a big scorer.
Rodman, in my opinion, is the greatest role player of all time.
Exactly.
And to me, it's you can't argue it.
Yeah.
He is you have two jobs on this team. That's all you have to do.
Yep.
Go be great at it.
Exactly. And so you've got the Batman and Robin, and that's it. And then everybody else is just kind of the role players around
Right.
him. And so, and LeBron James has surrounded himself with superstars.
Mm.
So that to me is like, and literally surrounded himself. Like, he's the one that went out and got these people.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
it's
I
not
don't
even a
mind.
comparison.
Like, I don't want to sound like I'm the guy that hates. Like, I don't like super teams. I think it's bad for the
If
league.
you build
And-
a super team though, and like say if you draft those and they're homegrown players, let's take it back to what could have been in Oklahoma City with those 3 homegrown players.
Yes, but when I say super teams, I'm talking about like recruiting. and
Yeah,
free
yeah,
agency,
yeah.
Because you're building, you're artificial building that. Like, there's never been a super team that's won it. Like, I mean, if you count LeBron in Miami,
Super team.
that with Wade and Bosh, they won 2 out of 4. But like, other than that, there's never been a super the Nets were horrible. Philly with all their players have never won it. Phoenix has never
Right.
won it. Like, they invest all these money in these 3 studs, and then they got shit for the bench.
Yeah.
Unless they just get lucky in a draft pick here and there.
Yeah.
Now, when you draft them, like Oklahoma City did, like the Warriors have done, and stuff, then because how the pay scale works, you can pay those and your other guys, you can build a team around them.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you're building super teams, like, I think a 2-star super team is the way to go. And then a third guy that's good, and then a bunch of role players to fill out the deal.
You don't need too many egos to manage
Yeah.
at that point.
Or paychecks.
Yeah.
That's where you get in trouble. Is
Well, that too.
you can't pay everybody.
That too.
And
And,
so-
basketball is really the only sport you can do that.
Mm.
You go out and look at the Anaheim Angels. They got the 2 best players on the planet and guaranteed 4th place finisher every time.
And they're 0-8 since the All-Star. Like, I'm a Rangers fan, so obviously I don't like the Angels, I don't like the Astros. But I was really excited when the Angels were like, fuck it, we're all in. We're not
Yeah, they're
trading.
buyers.
Yeah, and we're gonna buy and we're gonna make a push for the playoffs and we're gonna go all in this season, and then they're 0-8 cents.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's one of those things where it's like,
I really thought that cockiness would pay off, like in some confidence and some wins,
Right.
and maybe they'd make a push,
Right.
and it's like had the opposite effect.
just completely fall on their face.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now they're gonna lose.
Otani's going to be a
They're gonna lose him.
Dodger.
They're gonna lose him for nothing now because they wanted to be buyers and not
Yeah,
trading.
yeah. They'll get a draft pick compensation, and that'll be it. But anyway.
So while we're on baseball, real quick before we move on to the next,
Right.
Rangers' chances of winning the series.
Health is going to be the biggest concern. Josh Young going down, broken thumb. That doesn't sound like much, but
He'll be back by the playoffs though. It'll be can he get a swing back? But
well, is that and the fact of the matter is, it feels like when they get rolling good,
Mhm.
something happens.
Yeah.
You know, Seager getting hurt or Josh Young getting hurt or something like that. If they can keep it together, the only team I see, well, there's two teams that I see giving them problems in the playoffs, and that's going to be Houston and it's going to be Tampa. Tampa's good.
You don't think the Orioles will be a...
Orioles are too young, which could work in their favor. You know, they're too dumb to know any different.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Orioles and that whole division in total, I mean, the last place team could be the first place team in several divisions. So, you know, I guess my point is the sample size on them isn't big enough for me. You know, when you see Tampa's consistently been top 3 team all year long. Baltimore just kind of came along. Now, if Baltimore can hold it together, you know, I'm not saying it can't happen, but in my mind right now, I can comfortably say that Tampa and Houston are going to be the 2 teams that are going to get in their way. And I think they get past them, they have an excellent chance at the World Series, because when you look at the National League teams out there, you know, it's always going to be your Dodgers and Braves of the world, but I think they can hang with them, no problem.
Yeah, I think an AL team wins the series this year.
And it's just getting there for them and holding it together. Which, you know, we talk about that, and think about what they would have had if DeGrom could have stayed healthy. They had DeGrom and Max Scherzer back to back in the rotation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would have been awful.
And then that guy they got from
Montgomery.
Montgomery
from St. Louis.
Yeah. As a number 3 or 4.
I think the best thing that's happened to Texas is the change in management. You know, got rid of the GM, got rid of Chris Woodward, went out and got a really good manager. GM Chris Young done a great job so far. But I kept waiting for him to trade Josh Young. And, you know, he kind of didn't, you know, develop until just like the last year or 2, and now he's like, until he got hurt, he was the rookie of the year. There was no question.
Yeah.
So,
and I still think he has a good chance at it.
Well,
if he's out a month and comes back and plays well, month and a half plays well, I think he'll be fine. If he's out till the playoffs, he might get it.
No, not at all.
And that sucks for him.
Yeah, well,
but I mean,
that's Texas
baseball.
That's Texas baseball.
You're
it's
right.
just if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
What amazes me is that we are playing Texas baseball on offense with like the big hits and the run scoring and stuff, and then now we have pitching.
The pitching is the biggest part. And pitching has always been their Achilles heel, if you will. That's always been the weakness in the armor.
Yeah.
They cannot pitch, and it's been that way. Even if you look at the 2 World Series teams, they had one good pitcher, and the others were good enough to keep you in the game. And that's all they needed, and that was proof positive. You know, they had Cliff Lee one year, and then kind of Kobe Lewis. You know, when your best pitcher's Kobe Lewis.
Yeah, but he was stellar that season.
Yeah, but I mean, after that, it just like disappeared.
Yeah.
You know? So now they've got some surefire guys, and I don't know how much longer Scherzer and DeGrom are going to last, but DeGrom's the last anyway. I mean, he proved that in New York. If he could stay healthy 1 full season, you know, that's probably a good chance of 15, 20 game wins right there. But anyway, I would put right now Texas is a top 4 team for me. So, you know, I give them a good 25% chance to win.
Yeah.
Maybe I put it around 40% chance to make it. Like, I'm not over that half threshold yet.
Oh, yeah.
This is still a lot of baseball. I mean, there's not a lot, but there is a lot. A lot can happen between now and game 162. So, I mean, if they can lock up the playoff berth, then that would, you know, I would feel better about it. But it's typical me with Texas baseball. It's just, okay, when's it going to collapse?
Yeah.
When are we going down?
That's how I always feel. And now we're getting towards September, and so I'm definitely starting to be like, all right, here we
Here it
go.
goes.
Oh wait, we're 9-1 in the last 10 games.
Yeah.
Shit's going on here.
Yeah, exactly.
I always get really confused. But I feel like that's all my sports teams are. Is lots and lots of hope at the beginning of the season, and then as the season goes back on, you're like, oh yeah, we're Rangers fans.
Glutton for punishment.
Oh yeah, I'm a Mavericks fan. Oh yeah, I'm a Titans fan.
I'm a Cowboys fan. How do you think I feel?
Wow, that's true. All right, so the big topic, aliens.
You know,
Have you been watching any of this?
I distanced myself from that because my current situation, my only source of news these days is Facebook and Twitter.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
With my, it's not a knock on them, but you know, you go over to my parents' place. Oh, it's the same stuff. You know, they're the prototypical grandparents now that they have their shows that they watch, and that's it. So there's like, I have no access to TV whatsoever. So everything for me has been Facebook and Twitter. So I graze through it. I see it, and I'm just like, I don't want to pollute myself with this at this point in time, you know. And then another thing is, I read about it and I see it come by, and I'm like, it goes back to the Jason Aldean thing. It's like, this is what we're worried about, not the fact that, you know, right now Hawaii's on fire.
Yes.
That's not a problem. Extraterrestrial biological tissue is an issue here. I think that's what we're focusing on. That's where. So, for me, it feels like a big wag the dog thing. Now, do I believe that there is extraterrestrial life? Absolutely. Like, the odds of us being alone in the universe is, you know, astronomical. But did they come here? No. If they did, they were embarrassed and turned around and left. You know, it's like, oh, let's get out of here.
So, well, you know me, I'm a huge aliens guy. Like, that's my conspiracy theory, is aliens. And so I've been watching it, been watching the clips of like the congressional hearings on it, and then like listening to like the newscasters talk about it and stuff like that. But I'm also on the same boat as you. It's like, all right, why are we now talking about aliens?
Yeah.
Like, what else is going on here that?
Yeah. There's so much.
And what's hilarious to me is like, you watch the movies, and the aliens show up, and there's panic in the street, and there's mass hysteria and stuff, or the government says, hey, we've been visited, and everybody starts freaking out and stuff. And now it's like, hey, so we have like 10 or 15 spacecraft and 5 to 10 organic beings from other places, and everyone is just like, Jason Aldean's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah.
There's cocaine in the White House.
Yeah. Somebody dropped a dime bag.
Yeah.
You know.
And so so I'm watching it with 2 points of interest. One is like, holy shit, we're admitting that we're not alone and there are aliens, and we have spacecrafts and all this crazy stuff that I've believed since I was a child because of Star Trek and Star Wars is legitimately true. And X-Files. And X-Files. And then there's the other part of me that's like, all right, what are we not talking about? Like, what has disappeared from the media now that we're talking about this?
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, they start scraping the barrel at that point.
Yeah. My other side of my conspiracy of not trusting the government kicks in. And so why is the government telling me the truth now on this? What are we hiding?
You're approaching that with extreme caution.
Yes. And so.
I need to familiarize myself more with it, you know. And I've asked myself during this whole thing, I was like, how and why did this make the congressional floor when it did? Like, really? I mean, this is what we're going to do.
And how was it not bigger? Like, that's my deal. Like, we're legitimately talking about evidence of extraterrestrial life that have visited us, and we have like the technology and stuff from them, and like, how is that? How is it even on the news, and then how is it not the leading story of every news station every day right now? Like,
well, I mean, you look at our current climate, there are crazier things that are happening.
My theory is like all the reputable newscasters and stuff have spent the last 20 years making fun of the crazy redneck crackpot that thinks he got abducted by aliens. And now they can't go on news and be like, so Joe Bob probably did get abducted. They're real.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you can't go back on.
Fire in the Sky might have actually been true.
Yes.
For
It's
me,
like all the other conspiracies that have shown true in the last couple of years. Like they can't go back and say, "Oh yeah, we blocked you from Facebook for telling stuff that turned out to be true."
for me, here's where I'm from on this, and I think that, and I just had this thought. There's a lot to lose here.
Mm-hmm.
If these stories are authentic and this has been going on, there is so much to lose here. You think about that. Go to the Roman Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
It invalidates everything, right?
Possibly.
I mean, if extraterrestrial life is real, and let me back up, proven,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the evidence like right there.
Yeah.
These religious organizations have a lot to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's been their bread and butter. So to me, that's why it's not a bigger story, is because it puts fear into these institutions,
Mm-hmm.
and they're big. It may be a controversial thing I'm saying, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
I was listening to somebody the other day talk about it, and they were talking about the religious effect, and he was like, my theory on it is that what we're going to find out is God is like that dad that has the family in New York, and that's Earth, and then he goes on business a lot to Colorado, and he's got another family in Colorado, and those are the aliens.
He sells vacuums.
But his point was basically like and he was talking about it as an atheist, but he was like, if God's real and he's he created the whole universe, and so what's to say he didn't create other planets and we just don't know about it because we're Earth?
Yeah, exactly.
We're like that's what angels are, is aliens.
We're the side chicks,
And so,
well,
but you're right. Like there'll be it'll have a two-sided effect when it comes to religion and faith. I think there'll be a whole bunch of people that like, oh, religion's not real, God's not real, we have extraterrestrial life, the Bible never talks about that. And then there'll be other people that are so freaked out that they turn to religion.
Yeah.
As their comfort from the fact that we're not alone in the galaxy.
That's the thing, is you're challenging traditional belief.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the reason that that's not bigger and the reason that that's not out there more is that right there. You do not want to create a panic amongst those institutions.
Yeah.
Now, is it knowledge that we need to know? Absolutely. What can we learn from this? Where can, whatever. How did they do it and we can't? Or, whatever. But like I said, that's where I stand on it, and that's where I'll leave it. Is there's too much to lose in too many places. And because it invalidates not only the religious aspects, but then it starts to validate your Giorgios on History Channel there with the ancient aliens. It starts like, well, maybe
aliens did build pyramids.
Maybe me getting drunk and watching this show, I was actually watching the news. The History Channel was not wrong.
I'm on the
so it invalidates and validates.
Yeah. I'm on, speaking of the ancient aliens and the pyramids, I'm on the nuclear theory when it comes to aliens. Like, yeah, we were probably visited multiple times in our history in the past, but it was like they were just stopping by to see what the monkeys were doing with the sticks.
Yeah,
like just a zoo trip. And then we started dropping bombs and developing nuclear technology. They were like, oh, we should probably watch the Housewives of Earth and see what these monkeys are fixing to do to destroy each other.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's been like an increased, that in media, why there's been an increased number of sightings since the 40s and 50s, and why you see them around a lot of military bases and nuclear countries versus third world countries and stuff.
Well, here's another thing to think about here. How do they know where to go, like government-wise, to keep it like, we need to talk to these dudes over here. What's to stop them from like going to Times Square? Because they've never been here before. Think about that. Like, go to Times, a lot of light there. Maybe we should go there. It's lit up really nice.
I figure any species that's advanced enough to have interstellar flight has probably been through radio signals and like our weak decryption.
Yeah, but I
radio
mean,
signals makes it pretty easy to see where
just
out.
think about, stuff that you don't know,
Mhm.
like location-wise. You know,
Yeah.
you have to, and then you don't know the people. Because think about the radio signals that they're getting are hundreds of years old. If you think about it, because you know how far they are away and whatnot. But you know, that's the thing. Is like, well, how do you know where to go? Like, why in the hell? Like, let's just play the Roswell, New Mexico card.
Mhm.
Why in the hell? That's a prime example. Is they screwed up. It's like, we're lost.
Yeah.
Oh, we're lost. You know. So to me, it's like, how do you keep it under wraps as well as they have?
Mhm.
You know, I have a hard time, and if it happened often, there would be more evidence of it. Because like, there's not a UFO recovery team here in Durant, Oklahoma. So if a UFO hits here in Durant, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
there's no.
Well, and that's my, like, where I have a hard time believing the government actually has a lot of stuff is I can't tell Joe Schmo in the Army such and such location of AT without it getting the fuck out, or like us, you know, we have all the time where like top secret information gets out because some guy falls in love with a stripper and tells her.
What exactly?
And so like the idea that there's this
This immaculate lid that we've kept on that.
And the problem is it's not just America. So like now you're asking me to believe not only has the American government kept a lid and secrets on this for 70 years, but every other country in the world has managed to keep all of their guys freaking quiet for 70 years or more as well. And so while I'm a firm believer that there are aliens that we haven't visited, I find it hard to believe that there's a massive UFO recovery team in the United States Air Force.
Yeah,
And the first time we're hearing about it is the one guy in front of Congress talking about it, while we're also like not talking about all this other shit going on in the administration and
well, not only in
policy.
the administration, it's things are going on worldwide. You know, the Volta situation in Ukraine. You know, different things that they want to take your minds off of.
Mhm.
You know, the constant cycle of Hunter Biden's laptop, though, and then it's, you know, this is what Trump did. Like, it's a constant cycle of that, and this is maybe just one of those distractions.
Yeah.
They paid that dude $75 to say, like, you know what? Go sit down. Here's like,
We're gonna make you famous. You'll have a job with the History Channel for the rest of your life, and you can write a book. All we need you to do is go make a bunch of alien shit in front of Congress.
go watch
Done.
like 18 hours of X Files.
Yeah.
And
Go watch these episodes.
do your best.
Yep.
You know, that's kind of the likely scenario there.
I agree.
Because-
sadly, I really want it to be true.
Well, I do too. Don't get me
It's-
wrong, and it would be cool because
But-
then there's so much to learn. But at the end of the day, it's like,
Yeah.
we're only talking about one guy here.
And my favorite thing he does though is they'll ask really generic alien questions and he'll answer.
Right.
But he answers in very vague ways, but he answers the questions. And then they'll ask him something specifically and be like, well, I can't talk about that outside of a skiff. And so he can't talk about it outside of like a complete secure.
Do you think it's because he doesn't have a response? He's like, I can't think that quick on the fly.
Maybe, or maybe they just told him, hey, when it gets to the highly technical questions, just claim you can't talk about it outside the skiff, and then we'll take care of it once you're in the skiff.
Yeah.
You know, or something like that. But he answers the generic questions generically, and then the super technical specific questions, well, I can't talk about that outside the skiff.
Well, you know, there it is. It's just a big.
I keep waiting on Matt Gaetz to ask me if he's ever had sex with an alien.
Oh,
like, and I use Gates because of his, you know, tendency to ask really dumb questions.
Yeah, him and Jim Jordan.
Yeah, and so I keep waiting for one of those crazy on either side to ask him if he's had relations with an alien or if he's or just anything just off the wall batshit crazy.
What are these aliens' thoughts on the insurrection of January
Yes.
6th and the involvement of our president Donald Trump?
Ted Cruz to be like, what are these aliens' thoughts on Hunter Biden's laptop?
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
What do they know?
Do they have
What
it?
did they know about the laptop?
Do they have it? Have they seen it?
Yeah.
Is it their
Or,
cocaine in the White House?
Or AOC. Hey, what do these aliens know about Mar-a-Lago and the confidential documents of Trump in January 6th?
Yeah.
Like, I keep waiting for the tie-ins to other things to happen.
Well, it'd be a really good Saturday Night Live parody.
Oh, it would. It'd be great.
Yeah.
What's her name? Kate. Almost said Middleton. What's the really funny blonde that's on Saturday Night Live? She's the funniest person
The
on the
one
show.
in the Ghost, she was in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, she was in Ghostbusters too. I can't think of her name. She's hilarious, but she does great like political impressions of people, and I can see her being in a skit.
Yeah, she would be a good.
You could have Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
You could have him play Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious.
Well, you know.
Or have him play Crenshaw because of their history.
And really, he would kind of favors him if you think about it. He would be the more of the look for that. You know, he's not.
He could play the one-eyed pirate really well.
Yeah. I could throw him on
Yeah.
go to Walgreens, get him an eye patch. He'd be right in there.
Speaking of him, Crenshaw lost some points with me yesterday. He posted an Instagram photo of him with a Houston Astros glass eye.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, he's an Astros fan.
Well, I mean, he's from Houston, so
I know.
in all fairness.
No, I get the point, but I was just like, that.
Yeah.
Just can't like the Astros. Even before the cheating scandal.
Well, they're fun to watch. I always thought so.
So, yeah, so aliens are real. That's an important takeaway from this segment.
Well, that's
So, mathematically, they have to be.
not statistically, but as far as we're taking it, I don't.
No, that guy, he just doesn't look like the guy that would know about aliens.
I'm going to have to go back and familiarize myself with this. I'm going to have to break out the YouTube.
They're great clips. They're great.
And get a taste of that.
Because, like, he is serious enough where you're like, holy shit, this guy's really, like, talking about stuff. But he's so serious, too, you're like, this guy's just making shit up as he talks. He's just got great poker face.
Does he really stick to his story, though?
He does.
Like,
He does. But that's what I'm saying. Like, he's generic enough where it's not super hard to stick to the story. Like, he's not giving out,
That's a
like,
red
dates
flag.
and facts. And every time they want, like, those kind of things is when he brings up that I can't talk about outside of a skiff.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, that's
and for those of you that don't know what a skiff is, it's like a super secure room that radio signals and electronic signals can't get out of, so they can't be monitored. You can only bring paper. You can only bring paper in there, and there's a shredder in there, and everything gets shredded while you're there. No electronics are allowed, that kind of stuff. And so,
And what's his obligation to that? You know, if he was
Yeah.
gone this far so far, what does it matter now?
oh no. And what's great about it is there's not really any way to prove he's lying.
No.
Like, because the stuff is so top secret and secure, like there's no way to, you can't take.
It's the ultimate grift.
Yes, you can't take them and show them where all this stuff is at because it's all super top secret.
Yeah. It's the
National
ultimate.
security.
He's the grifter.
And so I figure we'll see him in 10 years with the History Channel show.
Oh, he's where that's
Yeah.
the angle he's working. He's getting
2 books out about it.
get him a sweet
He'll
document.
be on Joe Rogan in a year.
Yeah, Joe Rogan, or then he'll have a show on Travel Channel,
Mm-hmm.
taking you to the crash sites.
Yep. Oh, speaking of that though, because I listening to one of our last shows. For those of you that are wondering, we finally did get to see Bert Kreischer.
Yeah.
After the year and a half of multiple moves, we finally were able to go see that show.
I've never sat on tickets as long as I did those.
Yeah. And it was great.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. So we get a chance to get out and see him. He actually gotten larger since then.
Yeah,
he's traveling tour and
He's even more famous than when we saw it. Because we looked at getting tickets in Oklahoma City
Good luck.
last year, and they were 4 times as expensive for
Yeah.
worse seats than when we went and saw him.
Yeah,
We got really lucky because we bought those tickets like as he was blowing up.
Yeah, I
Because
bought
even
them
by
the
the
day
time-
they went on sale too.
Yeah, because even by the time we went to the show, they were 4 times the cost we paid for.
Yeah. Yeah, on the secondary market, you could have bought a car probably.
We watched The Machine, the movie.
Yeah, I still haven't given that. I haven't.
It's worth a watch. It's pretty funny.
Is it like it's on streaming, right? It's
Yeah.
streaming, like Max or something.
Yeah, it's on I think Amazon Prime, and so but it's worth a watch. It's funny.
Maybe when I get back to society, I can partake in such things.
Yeah.
But right now in my camper, it's catching the highlights on Twitter.
Bert's funny in it
He
because
is,
he's
yeah.
Bert, but Mark Hamill's hilarious in it.
Yeah,
Like he steals every scene he's in,
that's cool.
and he does the. It's always hard for me to tell live action because he does all the he does a lot of voice stuff in cartoons and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and so it's always hard for me to hear those voices when I see the person talking because it's Mark Hamill. It's not the Joker.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like there are scenes in that movie where he does the Joker voice when he's talking, and it's hilarious.
But he probably can't get away from it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just you tie those two together. I always thought that with Tom Hanks.
Mm.
You know, you watch Tom Hanks in certain movies, like in Apollo 13, I kept hearing Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't do it like that, but you always just tie that to it.
Yeah.
I guess you may be fantasizing some that he's trying to do that. You know.
Well, and it's like those actors that have those really distinctive voices.
Yeah.
You know, that's what, like Denzel Washington. Every movie, as great actor as he is, every movie he's in, all I hear is Denzel Washington. Like,
Well,
there's no Morgan Freeman is always Red from Shawshank Redemption.
well, going back to the Mark Hamill thing. I think it being an animated series too, because that's all you hear of him. You don't associate his face with that character.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like when you see his face, you see Mark Hamill. You know, and so even when he's doing the joke, even when he does the Joker voice, like on purpose in clips,
Yeah.
you know, I see Mark Hamill.
Exactly. You
And
can't.
so I can hear it a little bit, but in the movie, I feel like there are certain scenes where he does kind of a Joker,
Oh, they probably.
Jokerish voice.
need to do
It's,
that.
it's hilarious. And so,
So when can we look for episode 2?
I got a guy lined up that I think will do a podcast with us in September.
Okay.
We'll do some hunting outdoors. He's a music guy too, so there'll be some music conversation. I'm sure he's been the lead singer of a metal band and my mind's going blank, not a Red Dirt but a rockabilly band.
That works.
He writes articles and does podcasts for a different organization that we'll kind of promote a little bit because maybe they'll promote us back.
All right.
And but he'll be a good show. So I'm gonna get with him and find a weekend in September that doesn't affect baseball or drill or something. Maybe do it on a Sunday afternoon or something.
Yeah.
And but that's kind of the next plan is to have him on and then probably do another episode to prep for college football.
Right.
And the playoffs, the baseball playoffs coming up. Do a sports episode.
Well, those of you who listened to this cluster, jump on the Facebook page, give us thoughts, criticisms, ideas, places where you want us to go and whatnot. Because speaking of the Facebook page, I'm going to end with this. Did you see the lady that popped up last night? It was like small towns are the backbone of society or something. Is that a bot, or is this lady a Jason Aldean fan that?
No. My father added every one of his friends to Facebook.
Sorry, Bob.
And so we have, and I love 90% of his friends. But he added everybody he knows to it, which is great. He's trying to support his kid. Like, I get
awesome.
it. But
I thought it was one of those bots.
No, but what now has happened, because my dad is 72, is we have a bunch of 60, 70, 80-year-old people on the podcast.
So what do they think like?
And so I don't, because that's not the only one. There was another one that I actually deleted, and I'll tell you about that one in a second. And so I think we just have a bunch of people that think they're on a small towns page. Like they don't understand it's a podcast or what. I can guarantee you a lot of them have never listened to one of our podcasts, and they would not have added themselves to it. And so, but
I love it.
So I think that's what it is we have a bunch of 7-year-olds, which is great. Listen to podcasts, support us, have a great time with it, but also understand that we're not a small towns.
This is like a forum for the local government.
Yes, and so
we need a
there was
red
another
light
guy
on 3rd and Evergreen.
Yes, there was another guy, and I deleted his post because it was so obvious this guy did not know what he was posting. He posted a post about how he had the last cheeseburger he ate was at some restaurant, and it was amazing, and they had the best grilled onions, and I was just like, this guy doesn't know what he's posting on it. So I deleted his post, and then that's when I made hey, this is a podcast for like philosophy and life and politics and sports, and you're free to make whatever comments you want on here, and you will never be censored.
Okay.
But you will be ridiculed and made fun of if you make idiotic posts.
Okay, well,
I feel like I had to put that warning out there.
I don't feel like I was okay, so let me back up on what I just said. I caught that last night, and I thought, Do you have it where you have to let people join, or can anybody?
So they can request to join, and then I'll approve them.
Okay.
And I'm doing that just to try to keep out the bot, like the Russian supermodel.
Well, see, that's what I thought, that this was the Russian supermodel bot, and I was like,
Like, I'm approving anybody that asks as long as they're a real person.
because the name of the song, let's go back, is Try That in a Small Town, and I'm like, oh no, that was the first thing that came into my mind, is somebody equated us to that, that song, because it's kind of a hot topic right now, or was, or I don't know.
And I had the brief thought with this new board, and I was telling you can program stuff in there. I had the brief thought, if I was not a technological Neanderthal, of putting the intro to that song as one of the buttons, so it could be the intro to the podcast.
No.
And then jumping on that bandwagon to get some views and points. But then I also realized that I'm not technologically competent enough to do that.
Well, and I have principles.
And so I'm glad one of us does.
You'd have to blur me out.
I've been in the Army too long, and like dark, stupid humor like that is still funny to me.
And you got to draw the line somewhere.
And so,
well, wow.
But yeah, those are our 70-year-old fans that I don't think fully understand what the podcast is, and definitely have not listened to the podcast, because I will guarantee you most of them are either super liberal, tree hugging hippies, or super MAGA. Like that, because that's what older folk in this area of the country are.
That's your groups right there. That's what you get.
And so, but yeah, no, it was not a bot. It was an actual person.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. And so, I hope to get more humorous comments like that. I hope they slowly start to figure out.
What makes that funny is that it was inadvertent.
Yes.
It was like, these guys are talking about the actions of city councils throughout the country. We need more gates at railroad crossings.
Yes.
What are we going to do for the Main Street Festival this year?
That was when I logged on and saw the guy posted about the last cheeseburger he ate. I was like, what the shit is going on? I deleted it. It was like within 5 minutes. And so,
I could have a whole podcast over food.
In the future, I will not be deleting ridiculous comments.
We need to get that guy on, and we'll talk about food.
Oh my god! I don't know if we can.
Figure out a way to do a call in with this thing.
You can like plug the phone into it and do call in recordings. And so, this thing apparently will do whatever we can dream of it to do, whatever we can figure out how to make it do.
Well, I'm enjoying it. So I guess keep an eye on the Facebook page, and we'll enjoy the.
Yeah, I'll get this one edited. It'll probably come out Monday afternoon. My hope is that we do these podcasts on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and then by Monday evening, I can have them edited and out.
Well, so those of you who are listening, don't hold this one against us, because this is the maiden voyage.
Yeah, look at it as in like small incremental steps to getting better. At least the sound on this one will be good.
I mean, hopefully that's the thing. Is
I say that
we constantly are dicking with the mic, and so I know we're going to be hearing it move around and things like that. But I mean, we had a good flow going, and then it's just like. It's like anything else. You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So I think once we kind of get back up on the horse, plus we were doing that thing weekly. So I mean, well-oiled machine, and then it was just like nothing, and then it was like, oh no. So because I was driving in today, and I was thinking, I don't even know where to start. I don't know where. It feels like the first one again, like the one that we did at your kitchen table.
Yeah. Which I wish had like actually recorded, because that was actually really funny.
Well, it was the pilot program, right? And it was good content, and it was funny, but like it was kind of like this. We were all over the spectrum, which is fine. I don't, we talk current events and things like that, and just kind of let the conversation lead to where it goes.
Yeah.
And I like that, but some folks are going to take exception to that, and that's fine too. I don't care. But anyway, keep in mind this is the maiden voyage on this thing. Maiden Voyage Part 2. This is the new and improved, I guess. And
the reboot.
Yeah. Get the band back together.
What are they called now? They're going back and doing old TV shows with the same cast. They're not reboots, but there's a term for them. But like they went back and did iCarly.
Revisioned or something?
Maybe, I don't know. That's what this. Whatever that is what this is. It's the same cast. Just we're older and slightly less.
It's like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith in the Bad Boy movies. It's like We're just gonna ride it till it dies, baby. We're riding it till it dies.
Martin Lawrence gains 20 pounds every movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It cracks me up.
He somehow gets shorter too.
Yes.
I mean, it looks like he is 3'3" most times.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Well.
all right. So homework for it. Speaking of the site, give us a top 5 list that you want us to cover, so we can start getting some top 5.
It doesn't
ideas.
matter.
It does not matter the topic. I don't think either one of us are really shy away from too much.
And don't worry, we'll weed them out.
Yeah. The
You get suggestions. We do it how we want to do it. So that's just how
Yes.
it's going to go. And if
Yeah.
you don't, if yours doesn't get picked, I'm sorry. Maybe next time.
yeah, do better.
Yeah, do better.
All right. Well, thank you for listening.
Later.